Welcome back to KSP Breaking Ground, and we're going to be getting started this episode by doing a few different of the contracts. We've got this green sandstone one back still. We need to get it from Minmus. Unfortunately, we couldn't find any. However, there has been a patch to the game that apparently makes them a lot more visible. People were having problems finding these terrain objects, so hopefully we'll be able to do that. Also, we're also going to just do a bit of, well, not rescue, but we will be going to do a bit of docking in orbit and going to exchange crew because I went and purchased another scientist. So we'll be sending him up to orbit and also probably with Jeb. So let's take a look at that first craft and we'll see how it goes. So here we are with Rescue 2, a much simplified rocket. We don't have any side boosters or anything like that. We're only going up into orbit, and our current level of technology lets us do that quite easily. So we've got the first stage, which is just a skipper. I was going to say mainsail. A skipper, along with an upper stage, which has some science on board, just to try and load more stuff into the lab once we get attached to it. And at the very, very top, we have a docking port. We've got some RCS further down. And that's about it. It's pretty straightforward. So we're going to launch it and let's make sure we've got the right people in it first. So we want a scientist and let's just move ourselves down so the scientist can sit in the top pod. I think that's probably a good one to go for. And let's launch. And here we are on the launch pad. So I'm just going to throttle up and launch. So it's going to start off with 1.34 sea level thrust, but it will actually gain fairly quickly once it gets off the ground. And we should be okay. See here, it's pulling away quite straightforwardly. So we're going to head up towards orbit, and I'll cut you forwards to there. But just bear in mind, we've got about 700. Oh well, by the time we're finished, we'll have 841 meters per second in the upper stage, and the upper stage is just the usual kind of maneuvering stage for orbit. So we shouldn't have much of a problem there. We are going to tip ourselves over, and we don't have any fins, so you've got to be a bit careful about too much angle of attack here. Otherwise, you will spin out, and that wouldn't be very good. So I'm going to head up towards orbit. So I missed slightly. Basically what happened is I got slightly ahead of the target, which is not good, and that's definitely not a place that you want to be. So what I did is I pushed out the other side of the orbit so that we spend some of our orbit outside of our target's track, therefore slower, therefore it can then catch up, and then we'll have a maneuver right around here whereby we close in as we approach the other side of the orbit. So here we have an intersect of 3.5 kilometers, whereby we can then hopefully brake in time. Bear in mind our relative speed at that point will be 124 meters per second, so we'll have to slow ourselves down quite a bit once we get there. However, this gets us there, so we got MetJeb to actually do that pretty accurately, and then we'll get on approach to our first space station. And here we are. The other craft, the 2.5 meter lab launcher, which is the original craft name, is passing us. So now we've gone into relative velocity minus, and we should be able to brake ourselves. We have to bring our velocities down quite a bit, but we've got plenty of spare delta V to actually do this. And this will bring us down, you know, around about 4 kilometers or so away. And we'll see if we can close in a heck of a lot more than that. So I'll see you once I'm getting closer. And here we are, we're on the day side, so you can see our craft rotating around, and there you can see the lab coming into view. It's 1.3 kilometers away, so we're just setting ourselves, again, relative velocity minus. I'm going to bring down some of this velocity there, we can see into 4 digits, and it gets a lot more accurate from here. So from here, I am just going to close in that velocity, get us a lot closer. That's going to be do just fine. Let me just bring that down all the way in. 4, 3, 2, 1, and around about 0. So from here you can keep on getting more intercepts, getting closer and closer, just maneuvering on the other side. That will save you a lot in fuel. If you only have a little bit of fuel, do that. But because we're now 1,000 meters away, I can see it almost, we can just turn directly towards our target, and we can burn a little bit that way. And that'll bring it ourselves in, and we should see an intercept line. Here it is, and that's the closest point, and it's going to be 700 meters away at that point. So you can raise that a little bit more, or you can just use a little bit of fuel at a time and get yourselves closer. Your choice. I'm going to get closer via my own methods. And here we are with our target coming into view just alongside us. You may not be able to see it yet. You can probably see it underneath my cursor. Let's see if I can get an angle that you can actually see that by. Let's just wait for it to pass us, I think. Here it comes. You should be able to see that now. And then we're going to need to dock with this. So I'm going to do the usual. Let's go relative velocity minus. And whoops, I need to decrease my speed. There we are, relative velocity minus. And let's bring our speed relative all the way down so that we can maneuver around. So now we're going to point at at the target, and I'll turn this off because we're going to go into sort of manual flight at this particular point, and we'll turn SAS on. I'm going to want to go around that end of our target. So if we zoom out, we'll get back beyond our target. The docking port is right there. That's going to be our target. Okay. And then we're going to maneuver from this docking port. So control from here, and we'll turn the docking camera on, which is a great tool to actually use. So I'm going to go maneuver myself just like we did last time, but now purely with the RCS thrusters rather than SAS. We can turn RCS on and maneuver with our usual keys. So I can maneuver forwards with H, and we're going to get ourselves around, beyond, turn ourselves around, and come back for docking. And in we come, hopefully, hopefully oriented correctly. Let's give this a go. You can see ourselves coming up on that docking port right now. And we're just going to keep ourselves on center, and we should be fine to dock. Right into the center. We're going to dock just as we come beyond the sunset. And there we go. Docking camera isn't needed anymore. And we now essentially docked to the station. Now, stop the research on the station because it's going to sap all electric charge away from everything else if I actually leave it on there. So we're going to need to just exchange the crew. I'm not sure if we can exchange directly because they're both full or not. There's no spare seats. Let's give this a go anyway. So we should be able to basically transfer from here into here if there was any spare space, but there isn't. So we're going to have to send one of them outside. And why don't we send Valentina outside? Because, you know, she's used to it. So why don't we send you EVA? And there you go. So that's rotating us around. I'd rather that didn't happen. Let's just stabilize again. Thank you. And let's try that again. Valentina, go EVA, but try not to knock the craft. Oh, that's not great. Okay, so we've got the space to let go, and Valentina's gonna head out a little bit, but stay around. And again, just stay out here until she can actually board. In fact, we'll get her to just grab onto the top capsule, which is where we're going to get the other guy out of in a second. There we go, just grab that. And then we can use our square bracket keys to go back inside. And now we should be able to transfer out from, once it stabilizes, we should be able to transfer from here, transfer crew, Henless into there. Okay, he's moved across. That means we should now be able to go back to Valentina and board. All right, so we've got two pilots and we've got two scientists. Hopefully we can see that they're both in here, Henless and Bob. Good. So we may as well see if we can actually get any extra science for this to move across to the lab. If that'll let us do it, it looks like it will. So process in the lab, that'll get us 95 data. Good. Is there anything else on board? I'm not sure if there was anything else on board that I can actually use. No, I don't think we have much extra science experience here for now, but we have everything we need in the lab. We have two scientists, and hopefully they will do quite well. So what we're going to do is disengage, and then that'll get us on the go a little bit more. Can we actually transfer fuel, though? I'm not sure that we actually can. Can we get it from here? No. Because otherwise I would just be tempted to say I could alt-click on there and get it that way. So that's fine, there's no pass-through. And we will just undock. And we have both of our scientists on board. We can switch across to our sort of rescue craft that has its own service module. And we're going to just, well, we have a little bit of electric charge left. We're going to go and point them, that's to take ourselves out of target mode, put ourselves on retrograde. Okay. We shouldn't have any problems, well, there shouldn't be problems leaving some gases behind or collisions like that. Let's just actually increase that a little bit. And there we go. Both of our pilots can be headed home. And this, we can then decide what we actually want to do as far as resuming the research is concerned. Remember that it just will consume lots of power. So can we transmit any science? There's not enough useful findings. Okay, a very tiny amount of science. What I think we should probably do is assemble kind of solar panel array up here, because they're going to need it. And that's just enough to basically keep this thing going and ticking over. So if we just start the research again, you'll see that it immediately starts ticking down on our electric charge. So while they can actually do the job, yeah, they don't really have the power to do it. Okay, that's fine for now. And let's transfer over and get these guys home. So do we have any preference for where we want to go on this? We are coming up on the day side. And do we have, well, we can land near the desert airfield. And yes, desert, not the, well, desert airfield, I guess you're going to call it. I guess we can land near there. Or we can just bring in our orbit a little bit more. So let's just point retrograde. And burn. Bring that in. And let's see where we get to. We're instead just going to bring ourselves in on the night side. And there's our Apo. Hang on, why am I pointing prograde? Retrograde. Fine, we're going to save fuel. Mistakes like that. Oh, we got enough delta V to do it. But let's go around the night side, and then I will just make a move on the night side to bring in our day side, and then that should be much easier. So let's just bring ourselves around. And yeah, I'll bring myself into the atmosphere. Shouldn't need to do much more on camera. Usual. So let's face ourselves retrograde, and then we'll dispose of our service module, including the science lab. So let's just send it that way. Come on. There it goes. And that's not where I was hoping to go. Please don't go in my path. It's been a wonderful rescue. In any case, we'll just get ourselves facing the right direction, which we are, and we can turn off SAS, and we'll still have a little bit of electric charge. That shouldn't be much of a problem. It shouldn't come back into our particular path, and we'll get down towards the ground. And of course, they made it back safe and well without any problems, so they're ready for the next assignment. No XP gain, but with next assignment, we have to do a few missions. So we've got to get this green sandstone. Plant a flag on Minmus, it's asking us to do that again. Science data from surface of Minmus, that's great. Also, gather surface deployed mystery goo observations. Now, that's going to take a while because we didn't have a scientist deploy it. So, you know, that's a long-term thing. So the rest, we should be able to get another 3 missions done at once, just by designing another Minmus lander, or maybe reusing the existing one. The problem I have at the moment is I don't have access to the larger payload base. So if I do make anything here, we have a bit of a problem in actually doing that. So let's just take a look at, was it Landertron 2? That did seem something right. Yeah, that looks like our job. And this actually should still be fine. We did have a problem, didn't we? I think when taking off. This thing has no fins. It had no fins probably because I ran out of storage, part count originally, but we don't have that problem anymore. So we can make sure we add fins back to it of this kind. All 4. Yep. Yeah, there we go. And that should do the job on keeping this stable. We have 6,390. Now we can replace all of this bottom stage with a much more capable stage now. We did have a Terrier right there, and that's still fine. And then at the bottom we've got a T-45. We do, however, now have much larger engines, which will give us much more options and retaining all the fuel we have up here in this top stage. We've got nearly 2,000 delta V, so it might be nice to we don't even use it until we get even close to landing, which means we've got to have I don't know, maybe another 1,000 or so delta V to get across to Minmus. So let's just rebuild the bottom stage of this and call it Landertron 3 if we can. We should be able to. So let's get rid of all of this, and now we have this pod in the top section that is on payload deploy, clamshell deploy. Yes, it is. Good. Let's increase the ejection force. So we've got to design another phase now. So if we just get an adapter here, that's the small one. We want the Rocket Max one because we now should be able to use the large tanks. So let's start with a medium large tank, with the 2.5 meter tank. And let's go and add a couple of things. One is the Poodle engine. So that by itself gets us to 2,500, but not very quick, but it doesn't have to be. The main thing now is, can we get all this off the ground with the next stage down? So this will all come detached. Yeah, it does have a decoupler. That's good. We don't need anything else further down. We do need a decoupler, say, around here. Okay. And then we are going to need more tanks. Now, remember before, we probably are only going to get away with 2 of these, if that, for this bottom stage, just because of how the thrust-to-weight ratio is going to work out. So until we get the mainsail anyway, because the mainsail is just much more powerful. There we go, skipper. All right, so that's 1.07 at sea level. That's far too low, but as it gets higher, that gets up to 1.22, and we are roughly 1,000 delta V higher. So if we get to that, we should be able to get all the way to orbit and injection stage towards Minmus, and then we'll have less of a problem. So the rocket looks reasonable, apart from the fact this weird payload bay that's got this sort of, bottleneck in the middle of the craft. But other than that, I think we're just going to need some boosters. So we'll do the usual thing here of attaching a couple of side boosters. And well, you can even step up to about 4, but it just really depends on how well this fits together. Okay, and is that reasonably attached? It seems to be okay. Let's give that a go. Yep, that looks reasonably attached. Bring it down to the same level as the engine. And let's get some aerodynamics on there. So just some protective nose cones. Come on, I know you want to attach. Come on, there you go. There we go. Okay, so we're going to burn them all at the same time. And that will get us 1.54 on the launch pad. That's good. Then we'll just add a couple of launch towers. And we should be good to go for the most part. I don't think there's anything particularly science related I want on this craft, other than maybe just some trivial science, just because of that mission requirement. So we have most of the rest of it, so let's just put a thermometer on the top, and that should do it. I don't really need anything else. Okay, so Landertron 3 should be ready to go now, and let's just check our staging, because that's the most important thing. Everything disengages at once, turns on at once, and then we have the 2 boosters splitting off. Then we have the next stage up, then the payload fairing, then the last stage, and then parachutes. And parachutes, of course, for coming back. Then we can launch. And here we are, it's a night launch, and we've just lost both of our boosters. They're dropping back down behind us, and we're gathering speed quite quickly now. However, we do want to make sure that we don't tip ourselves over too much, so we are lofting quite high, just in case, because I have no fins on this. I thought we'd just be able to deal with that on the skipper engine. So I'm going to head up into orbit, make a plan for Minmus, and I'll see you over there. Just a slight unfortunate thing with MechJeb deciding to burn us through the through Kerbin's atmosphere on the way out here. I lost the thermometer, but I do have a crew report, so hopefully that will actually count. Let's wait for this this burn to actually start. Everything else actually survived, it's just the thermometer. We just passed through a little bit of heating. It's not a real problem. It's the thermometer. You'd expect it to actually deal. Let's not go there. Fine. So there's our burn. We should be in orbit now. We still have this stage, and we still have about 600 meters per second of fuel remaining. So let's just stabilize ourselves a little bit. Let me just extract the gear just so that everything is down. Yeah, I know we can even deploy some lights if we wanted to, but yeah, not much use at the moment. Okay, so we're going to use this stage again to bring ourselves in for a landing. And we need to decide where to actually land. I think I still want to land on the same plane near our deployed central station. Mainly because, well, I went there before and I want to see if anything's changed. And also I know that that's one of the regions where you're supposed to find this sandstone. So what we're going to do is run all the way around and bring ourselves around to here. Okay, and then we'll bring our Perry in just by pointing retrograde. Everything will spin around. And it's not going to take very much at all. We're only at 129 meters per second, So let's just burn ourselves and bring ourselves in so that we come in for a landing. Sort of on the east side of this would be nice. So there is our orbital path, and we're now on a collision course. Okay, and we can decide to go normal or anti-normal as well, just to adjust that a tad. Let's try normal first of all. I can always get these wrong. Yeah, that's actually right this time. So that's around about where I want it. Yeah, around about there should be fine. And now I'm going to fast forward or warp forward to much further down. So we're picking up speed, as you'd expect. And we're going to be passing right above our previously deployed station. It's down there somewhere. And let's just get ourselves to retro of the surface, not of orbit. And we'll bring ourselves in a lot closer. We still have this gigantic stage by comparison to our lander, which means that we can actually afford to get a lot closer and just break at the last minute. So anywhere out here will be just fine. So let's just bring ourselves over. We're at 10 kilometers, 9, and why don't we say around about there? Okay, and at this point we're just going to clear most of our speed. Okay, and at this point we're going to start falling straight down. So I'm going to just get rid of this stage now. That can go away. And then we can just move ourselves a little bit more, just so that we're not on a collision course with that. Okay, and we'll now end up going straight down, or we will in a second. And we're going to go back into stability assist mode and just push ourselves so that we are going straight down, just by pushing our velocity this way with a little bit of thrust. And then we can just tailor this a tad. There we are. That looks like it's fully straight down. And that's pretty much it, I think, at this particular point. We just need to brake once we're getting a lot closer. And of course we have flight engineer's burn time. So we have suicide burn length is 15 seconds and it's coming up in 22 seconds. So we don't have very much longer at all. And you can see our shadow already approaching on the surface, as well as our impact point estimate. So we should be okay to go. And what I bring ourselves in, we've got plenty of fuel, remember, we've got 2000 delta V. That was the other stage impacting the surface. So now I'm going to clear most of our velocity so that we can have a scout around and see if we can see any surface detail out here. We may not be able to see it, but yeah, well, let's see what happens. So in we come, and this is most of our velocity now being killed off. That means I can have a look around as we get a lot closer. And it seems there's nothing for miles, which is just my luck. But we should be able to then do a few different bits and pieces. So, science data from surface of Minmus, let's send that off. In fact, I can't send that off. So that's going to have to return with us because I didn't put an antenna on there, or it burned off, one of the two. So transmit over recover is going to be perfectly fine. And then it also wants a flag, which we're going to do off camera. And then I'll go and see if I can scout around just by heading off in one of the directions. Can't see any sort of surface detail whatsoever, so why don't we just head over there and let's see what happens. So I'm just going to get the surface sample. Let's go EVA, and we'll let go, use our RCS. There we go, we're down. We get EVA surface sample 90 sites. That's good. EVA report, that's why it's lesser flats. Okay, so maybe I aim for the wrong area. We may have to go to a different sort of flats, which is still possible with the same lander. That's not a problem. And that's pretty much everything we need apart from the flag. So we've got the surface sample. Let's plant a flag down. And what are we going to call it this time? Third time's a charm? Well, not in this case, because I wanted to get this green sandstone is going to be the death of me. Third time is not a charm. Okay, fine. And that can go there. We should get our mission complete. Good. And then we can get back in, put our RCS back on. Whoops. And just head back to this indicator of where I should end up landing is good. I'm not sure I quite need it when I'm EVA, but other than that, I guess it's okay. So now we're going to head up and over and see if we can find any surface detail. And here, as we get a lot closer to the hills, we can see surface details starting to pop in. Various different sort of areas where there might be our green sandstone. So now I think I'm just going to move ourselves up a little bit more. Via our thrusters, you can see our impact points moving over this way. And maybe I'll just bring that up the side of the hill and maybe land around about there or something like that. So let's keep on pushing it that way. And that should do. I'm going to stop short. So now we can just switch ourselves to velocity minus. That'll flip us around. And then we'll use that to brake ourselves as we come in. So we again got another suicide burn countdown. And unfortunately, the hillside is moving up. So we want to make sure this is set to the actual ground. And here we have, well, a choice of when to burn. I think I'm going to be burning pretty soon now. So 8 seconds. So let's just orient ourselves this way. And I'm going to burn off most of our velocity. There it goes. We'll get ourselves all the way slowed down and come down for a nice gentle landing, hopefully. There we go. And follow that down. And now we are pointing straight up. Good. And I've been drifting out here for some time, looking around again, still have not found any example of it. And without any ability to scan for it, find a direction for it, it's very, very hard indeed. All these rocks look sort of promising until you get close enough. And then the same sort of old texture that the example screenshots that are shown just aren't the ones that we're looking for. Is that, however, one over there, maybe? That looks more promising. Let's turn around this direction. That one right there, if you can see. That looks more promising. Let's see if that is what we're looking for when we get closer. Looks a lot more promising. Yeah, so why don't I just brake myself so that I'm not going to start sliding down a hillside. And let's slow ourselves all the way down. And look at that. Okay, so that looks a little bit better. Let's just slow ourselves right the way down. And perhaps we'll have to walk across to it, but that's perfectly fine. I have, by the way, on Minmus, you think it might not be dangerous, but if you start a slide, there is no way to come out of the slide. So if you're going down that way, you're not stopping anytime soon. Not that I've tried that whatsoever, but let's just get a surface sample first of all. So that's another 90 science. Can we actually click on this thing? Not yet. So that doesn't bear any good signs. Climb? Well, I guess. Let's just go put ourselves on RCS mode and let's go and stand on top of it, maybe. This looks like it would be something that you can click on to actually get this stuff, but maybe not. Maybe I've got this wrong. I don't know. I certainly can't interact with it in any way. So if anyone knows any better, feel free to let me know in the comments down below. The only other option I can think of is to get close to it and then right-click menu on the Kerbal themselves. So take Kerbal surface sample. Okay, this would appear to be the same one though, so that's not it. Let's try a little bit closer to the ground and let's see if that actually will let me take a sample of this rock. I'm not sure what the menu item's supposed to be called, but we'll go and take a look. So we'll get really close and turn off our RCS. Do we get any kind of options whatsoever for this? Is that an extra option that's flickering into view? Let's just put this on permanent. And is this just the surface sample option? Looks like it is. So yeah, maybe this isn't it. If so, let me know where you find yours, because without any ability to scan for them, it's really inconvenient. And I tripped, fell, and I think I slid past it. So let's give this a go, and let's see if this is actually the Minmus stone we're looking for. So let's slow ourselves down this time, rather than tripping, falling, and sliding for a couple of kilometers. This surface is nearly frictionless. Once you start sliding, you have nearly no chance of actually stopping. And if there's a hill, and well, yeah, as I said before, not much you're going to do about it at that point. You're going to have to wait until you stop. Or die. So here we are. You see a much nicer sort of stone. Maybe that's a lot better. So let's slow ourselves right down. Okay, and now do we get the option to gather some stone? No. How about standing right on it? Pick up green sandstone. Whoops, that's is that planter flag? Yeah, pick up green sandstone. There we go. So we've picked it up and we have to bring it back with us. So now I have to go and find where I left my ship. It's over that way. Good. It's still showing up. And let's jump and RTS back. Assuming we have enough fuel. We do. Looks like we do anyway. So let's get ourselves back over towards our ship and hopefully head back towards Kerbin. Back on board and back towards Kerbin we go. We've got 1300 meters per second of fuel. That's more than enough to actually get us where we need to go. Let's just head over towards the east. At least I'm hoping I'm heading east. And let's just cut that off there. And make sure, yep, I'm heading west. Yes, I want to head the opposite direction to that. Thank you very much. That way. Which is perfectly fine. We've got more than enough fuel. And we'll just head back up into orbit as we have done previously. There we go. It's just tilting around. And in fact, that's already, well, we're pitching way too high. It's Minmus. It doesn't have much gravity at all. And we're just going to pitch out towards orbit, point towards the horizon, and we should be good to go. So that's going to keep on going up. And we should be okay to make a maneuver up here, circularize as we normally would, and head back towards Kerbin. So from this point, it's a pretty standard trip, so you shouldn't need to see any more of it. All the way back, we've got all the science that we picked up while we were there, as well as green sandstone, return of a vessel, all the rest of it. 381 science available now, and we're pretty much done for this episode. So let's go and look at the science we have available. What have we got available in here? We have better antennas. We got better unmanned stuff. That's sort of nice. And we've also got weather analyzer. Advanced electrics. That's really nice retractable solar panel arrays, which will be very useful for the lab. So I'm very tempted to take that. We have 2 available nodes, I think. Yep, two we can actually spend on. We get the larger command pods, and also the cupola, which lets us not have to stack them anymore, which looks a whole lot more professional if we actually do it that way. So that's very tempting as well. But also, I would like the payload bay, I think, if possible. I'd like to be able to send more stuff up available in a payload. So where are you? Up here, presumably in one of these nodes. Specialized construction, that looks like the right node. 2.5 meter there. Some extra nose cones. It's got horrible other parts, mind you, but it does have that airstream protective shell. So we're going to have to take it at some point, so we may as well take it now. And then what I think I'll do is perhaps go down here and take electrics as well. So we have this ability to assemble stuff that is better for that space station. And of course, we can move it around and across the Minmus if we want to. So that's 2 nodes. The next nodes we're probably going to want to go for is maybe the heavier rocketry for the mainsail, but that's sort of interplanetary stuff, really. And then this node will be very nice for the tiny little twitch engines and spider engines. Is there really anything else that I absolutely need? No, I think that will do for now. Okay, so we'll leave it there. And with that, we have a few more missions. Again, Platinum Flag on Minmus once again. That's probably worthwhile grabbing, as well as the science data. They're quite easy to actually do and get more funds that way. And of course, we have plenty of spare space for those. A new orbital station around Minmus. So we have to have, let's see, 2 scientists, a research lab, and supporting 11 Kerbals. That's going to be the hardest part. So it's nice, and it's only got 17, well, it's got 17 years, so we get a good advance. But I don't quite need the advance quite yet, but that'll be an interesting one to actually do. And then, of course, we've got interplanetary stuff. So we're going to get to that soon enough anyway. However, we've got to go back to the moon and do perhaps a manned landing. We haven't been there yet. So I think next episode we'll do a design of a manned lander and go from there. So I hope you'll join me for that. Hope you've enjoyed this episode. Give it a thumbs up if you have. Click on share and subscribe, and click on the bell if you want more notifications. But more importantly than all of that, of course, put comments down below for helping other people along who are having problems with the game. Otherwise, we'll see you next episode. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.